What do cribs, cigarette lighters, and garage door openers have in common? They're all subject to regulations by the Consumer Products Safety Commission. That federal agency is also responsible for recalls like this one, issued in 1996 on 12 million Lane cedar chests manufactured between 1912 and 1987. The reason was a locking mechanism that prevented the chest from being opened from the inside. These chests have been blamed for the suffocating deaths of 6 children, and almost 20 years later, they are back in the news because of 2 more deaths. 8-year-old Lexi Munroe and her 7-year-old brother Sean of Franklin got trapped in a hope chest while playing. Authorities are calling their deaths a tragic accident. Now, anyone familiar with a similar chest is being urged to replace the lock, but how much of the responsibility for product safety rests with the consumer, and how liable are manufacturers? Ann LeBlanc is a personal injury attorney and a partner at the Boston firm of Sugarman & Sugarman. Welcome to Greater Boston. And Ann, just coincidentally, you happen to be the owner of one of these Lane chests, and you're telling me you've had it for more than 25 years. Your husband gave it to you before you were married. Were you aware of the recall?
I was not. And I think that's exactly the point here, which is you would expect someone like me to be aware of it. And if I'm not, how can you expect consumers to be aware? And clearly, although this was a recalled product, the company did not do enough to make sure the public was aware of that.
Yeah, because normally in a recall, like a car recall has become so common, they know the VIN numbers, they know the tracking numbers, they know everything, that how to reach you by email or a letter. But how would they? I mean, your husband has probably moved several times since then. How could they responsibly track you down?
Mm-hmm. Well, the company Lane entered into what's called a voluntary recall program with the CPSC, which allows for a number of ways of notifying the public, but there is a wide degree of variation in terms of the ways they're allowed to do that. You know, clearly it hasn't been done because there are 6 million estimated chests out there that have this defective locking mechanism.
I mean, your kids are older now, but thinking back, you still own a chest that locks from the inside. It's airtight. It says right here in the literature that that's one of the beauties of the thing. It's airtight, so if you put something precious like lace or something in there, it won't rot or mildew. I mean, do you think now that could have been one of my kids?
Absolutely. Absolutely. This was defective at the time it was designed. You've got a box that can fit 2 children in it. That what happens is you lower that top and it latches, and you cannot get it up unless you push a button from the outside, and there's no way to open it from the inside.
And there's also a key.
There is also a key that you can lock from the outside.
Now, some products are really aggressive in their recall. Of course, the infamous one being Tylenol. That was a little different. It was poison, and they had no idea where the poison was coming from, what shelves it was on in any pharmacy in America. This is a little bit different. But companies are understandably reluctant. Like Toyota had that big recall that they did with the acceleration issue, which was kind of never really determined what was going on there, whether it was the mats or something else. But they protest because of what? The expense?
Well, that's part of it. Certainly it's bad publicity for, or at least some companies may think it's bad publicity, but, you know, the onus really should be on the manufacturers, number one, to design out any defects to begin with, and then once they become aware that a product is defective, once they become aware, as in this case, that 1 child has died, it's on the manufacturer to get that word out and to make sure people know about that. And in this case, as you probably know, Lane was actually fined $900,000 by the CPSC because they did not promptly report this, and they should have.
But what about now? What's going to happen to them? I mean, there are millions of these chests still out there. They paid $1 million fine, which is not that substantial. Will they be liable again in this case?
Well, they certainly can be. You know, at this point, there are many facts that we don't know. We don't know where this was manufactured or sold, but certainly under Massachusetts law, a manufacturer can be held liable for its defective product.
And no one can be held responsible for not getting the information out? I mean, is it only the responsibility of Lane, or is it partly the responsibility of the Consumer Product Safety Commission to get these words out? I mean, when we think of Toyota again or Tylenol, the media played such a prominent role, as they do with certain recalls that are going now, a lot of them having to do with infant toys and that kind of thing. The media plays a big role.
Mm-hmm. The CPSC is the regulatory agency that has as its charge protecting the public from unreasonably dangerous products. And in fact, they are right now in the process of strengthening the rules that they have on voluntary recalls. But if you think about the number of products coming into the U.S., think about the products coming in from China. We can't expect the CPSC to do it all. The onus really has to be on the manufacturers to keep their products safe, and that when they become aware that their products are dangerous and defective, that they've got to use all reasonable efforts to make sure the public is aware of that.
This is unusual, let's face it. A Hope chest has been for memorabilia, blankets, that kind of thing. But I was looking through a list of things that are most frequently recalled, and they are either children's toys or children's things like swing sets or some kind of carry-all, or shades is a big thing now. You know, so the kids can't get choked in a shade, but it's all involving children.
Well, it's foreseeable that children are going to do things, you know, with the box that they can get into. You know, there's a long history. It used to be refrigerators that would latch, and there were children who died in refrigerators, car trunks. Obviously, it's a different standard when you're thinking about what children may foreseeably do.
Can you unhook a refrigerator these days from the inside?
I believe they can all be pushed out. Exactly.
That's good to know. I'm serious about that.
And there are regulations where if you're putting the refrigerator out on the side of the road to get rid of it,
you have to leave the door open.
Door's got to be off.
I know that one. All right. Ann LeBlanc, thanks so much for that information.
Thank you.
Well, as we've discussed, it's not easy to stay on top of all the product recalls out there. We've compiled a list of resources on our website to help you flag potentially dangerous items in your home. Just head to WGBHnews.org.